The fluorescent lights in that conference room buzzed overhead, mixing with the stale smell of old coffee that nobody had bothered to replace. I sat there, hands folded on the cold wooden table, thinking about the past 3 years. 3 years of late nights, missed weekends, finished projects that exceeded every expectation. My heart raced with anticipation as I glanced across at my boss, who wore this strange smile I could not quite read. The moment felt right, so I said it, voice filled with genuine excitement. I am excited for my raise. The silence that followed lasted maybe 3 seconds, but it stretched like hours. Then he laughed. Not a warm laugh. A condescending chuckle that made my stomach drop. What raised those 2 words shattered everything I had built my hopes on. Before I tell you how this meeting turned my entire life upside down, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button if you have ever felt undervalued at work, and subscribe, because what happened next? Well, let us just say, karma has a way of evening things out. Trust me, you will want to hear how this story unfolds. So there I was, sitting in that conference room, completely clueless about the betrayal that was about to unfold. Let me take you back to where it all started 3 years before that devastating moment. I started working at TechVantage Solutions 3 years before that terrible meeting. The company sat in an old red brick building in Austin, Texas, on the 3rd floor with windows overlooking downtown. We were a mid-sized tech company, about 40 employees, specializing in data analytics. When I first walked through those doors, hope filled every step. This was my chance to build something meaningful, to prove myself in an industry I loved. The office had that startup energy, even though we had been around for a decade. Everyone seemed friendly, collaborative, excited about the work. I joined as a senior product analyst, ready to pour everything I had into making this opportunity count. About 6 months after I started, they hired another analyst, named Mark. He was tall, with sandy blonde hair that always looked like he had just come from the beach, and he favored plaid button-down shirts that gave him this casual, approachable vibe. At first, Mark and I hit it off immediately. We grabbed lunch together almost daily at this taco truck that parked near our building, the kind of place where you could get 3 tacos and a drink for $8. We worked on projects together, stayed late, bouncing ideas off each other, and I genuinely thought I had found not just a colleague but a real friend. I even trained him on our systems, spent hours explaining the nuances of our client database, shared shortcuts I had discovered through trial and error. Mark would always say, "Man, I could not have done this without you." I believed him. I trusted him completely. Looking back now, that trust feels naive, but how could I have known? My first year at TechVantage became a proving ground. They assigned me to redesign our entire customer analytics dashboard, a massive undertaking that required learning new programming languages and wrestling with complex SQL queries. I stayed until 2 in the morning, more nights than I can count, the office dark, except for my computer screen glowing blue in the emptiness, the sound of my keyboard echoing through vacant hallways. I taught myself advanced techniques, watched countless tutorial videos, read technical documentation until my eyes burned. The result? Our efficiency jumped by 35%. Mr. Davidson, my boss, sent an email to the entire company, praising the work. I printed that email and kept it in my desk drawer, pulling it out whenever I felt discouraged. For the first time in my career, I felt truly recognized. Year 2 brought even bigger opportunities. We landed a major client, a large retail chain across Texas, that needed help optimizing their customer data systems. I led the entire data analysis portion of that project, diving deep into purchasing patterns, demographic trends, seasonal fluctuations. The insight I discovered about their customer behavior became the cornerstone of our pitch. When the time came to present to their board of directors, my hands were slick with sweat, my heart hammering so hard. I thought everyone could hear it, but I delivered. The presentation went flawlessly. 3 weeks later, they signed a contract worth $2.5 million. Mr. Davidson pulled me aside after the signing, his hand on my shoulder, voice low and sincere. "You are going places, Porter." Those words echoed in my head for months. I genuinely believed this was my stepping stone to something bigger, to a promotion that would validate all the sacrifices I was making. The 3rd year ramped everything up another level. They asked me to mentor junior analysts, and I volunteered for every difficult project that came through our door. Weekends stopped being time off. They became extensions of the work week. I checked emails during dinner, worked from my small studio apartment on Sundays, skipped gym sessions I had promised myself I would keep. My girlfriend at the time, Sarah, grew increasingly frustrated. "You care more about that job than us," she said one evening, standing in my kitchen with tears streaming down her face. We broke up 2 months later. I told myself it was worth it, that the promotion everyone kept hinting at would make these sacrifices meaningful. Mark was still there, still working alongside me, though I noticed he never quite put in the hours I did. Still, he performed well, and I was genuinely happy for his success. We were a team or so, I thought. Around 2 months before the promotion meeting, small things started feeling off. I would arrive at the office to find Mark emerging from Mr. Davidson's office, the door closing quickly behind him. When I asked Mark what those meetings were about, he waved it off with that easy smile of his. Oh, just some paperwork stuff. Nothing important. I believed him because why would he lie? We were friends. But a tiny seed of doubt planted itself somewhere in the back of my mind, barely noticeable, easy to ignore. Then came the stolen idea. During one of our lunches at the taco truck, I explained to Mark this concept I had been developing to improve our reporting system. I laid out the entire framework, drew diagrams on a napkin, talked through the implementation steps while he nodded, and took notes in his phone. Interesting approach, he said, and I felt good about sharing it with someone I trusted. A week later, during a department-wide meeting, Mr. Davidson stood at the front of the room beaming. Mark came up with a brilliant idea about our reporting system, he announced. Then proceeded to describe my concept, almost word for word. I sat there frozen, staring at Mark across the table. He avoided my eyes, focusing intently on his laptop screen. Maybe he mentioned my name earlier, I thought, trying to rationalize what had just happened. Maybe I missed that part. I said nothing, told myself not to make waves. 2 weeks before the promotion meeting, Mark became distant. Our daily lunches stopped. When I suggested grabbing tacos, he claimed he was too busy, had deadlines piling up. His emails became short, almost cold, stripped of the friendly banter we used to share. I asked him one afternoon if everything was okay, genuine concern in my voice. Yeah, just stressed with deadlines, he replied without looking up from his monitor. I offered to help, thinking that is what friends do. He declined. I got it handled. The words felt like a door closing. One morning, I walked into the break room and found Mark and Mr. Davidson having what looked like an intense private conversation near the coffee maker. The moment they spotted me, they went silent. The air felt thick with unspoken words. Everything good? I asked, trying to sound casual. Fine, Mr. Davidson said quickly, then excused himself. Mark poured his coffee and left without another word. That feeling of unease grew stronger, but I pushed it down, told myself I was being paranoid. The Monday morning of the promotion meeting arrived with cruel sunshine. The kind of perfect October day that made you believe good things were possible. I woke at 6, too excited to sleep any longer. Standing in front of my bathroom mirror, I straightened my best navy blue suit, adjusted my red-striped power tie, practiced, saying thank you for this opportunity, until the words sounded natural. I had done my research, knew that the market rate for the position above mine justified a raise of around $15,000 annually. With that money, I could finally replace my car, which had been coughing its way past 120,000 miles. Maybe I could move to a better apartment, one with more than 400 square feet, and a window that actually opened all the way. I arrived at the office at 8:15 in the morning, bright and warm. Several coworkers saw me walking in and smiled. Good luck today, Porter, someone called from their cubicle. The support felt genuine, made me believe this was really happening. Mark was already at his desk when I passed by. He glanced up, and this strange smile crossed his face, almost knowing, definitely uncomfortable. He said nothing, just turned back to his screen. Something felt wrong, but I ignored it, chalked it up to my nerves. At 9:45, an email arrived from Linda in Human Resources meeting at 10 a.m. Conference Room B. Conference Room B was the smaller one, with an oval wooden table and 6 chairs that had seen better days. When I walked in at exactly 10, 3 people were already seated: Mr. Davidson in his gray suit, and a motionless expression, Linda from HR clutching a thick folder and looking stern behind her round glasses, and Mark. Mark being there confused me instantly. Why would he attend my promotion meeting? A wild hope flickered. Maybe they were promoting both of us. Maybe the company was doing better than anyone realized. But that hope felt fragile, and the atmosphere in that room pressed down on it like a weight. Nobody smiled. Nobody made small talk. We just sat there in this awful silence until Mr. Davidson cleared his throat. Thank you for coming, he began. Then launched into this generic speech about team performance and successful projects. He talked about collaboration and meeting targets, but I noticed something crucial. My name never came up. He kept saying the team effort, collective success. My pulse quickened. This was supposed to be about my promotion, about recognizing my individual contributions. Why was everything so vague? The anxiety built until I could not contain it anymore. The words burst out before I could stop them. I am really excited for my raise. I said it with a smile, trying to inject some lightness into the heavy room, trying to steer this meeting back to what I thought it was supposed to be about. The silence that crashed down felt physical. 3 seconds of absolutely nothing, no sound, except the buzz of those fluorescent lights overhead, and my heart pounding in my ears. Then Mr. Davidson laughed, but not in a way that made you want to laugh with him. It was the kind of laugh that made you feel small, foolish, like a child who just said something embarrassingly naive. What? Raise? The question came out dripping with surprise, as though the concept was completely absurd, as though I had just suggested the sky should be green. Linda opened her folder papers, rustling loud in the quiet room. "Porter, I think there has been some confusion," Mr. Davidson said, and those words landed like punches. "We already gave the promotion and raise to Mark here." He pointed across the table. Mark nodded, that strange smile still plastered on his face. The room started spinning. My lungs forgot how to work. "What?" The word came out barely above a whisper. "But all those projects, the client presentation, My voice trailed off because I could see it in their faces. This decision was final. This decision had been made weeks ago, maybe months ago, without me ever being part of the conversation. Mark has shown exceptional leadership qualities. Mr. Davidson continued, his voice, taking on this rehearsed quality, like he had practiced this speech. He has taken initiative on several key projects. Those were my projects. Every instinct screamed for me to say it, to defend myself, but my throat had closed up. Words stuck somewhere between my chest and my mouth, choking me. Linda slid papers across the table, their edges perfectly aligned, professionally printed. "Here is the documentation," she said, in that flat HR voice that revealed nothing. My hands shook as I picked up the papers. The first document was a performance review dated 3 months earlier, one I had never seen, one nobody had ever discussed with me. Mark was rated exceptional across every single category. My rating meets expectations. Standard. Average. But worse than the ratings were the projects listed underneath. The dashboard redesign that had consumed my life for 4 months, credited to Mark. The client presentation that brought in $2.5 million, listed as led by Mark, with team support. Team support. I was team support for my own work. The second document was a promotion proposal submitted 2 months prior, recommending Mark for a senior lead position. The justification made me physically ill. Innovative thinking, leadership potential goes above and beyond. The third paper showed salary adjustments. Mark received an increase of $22,000 annually. My name appeared nowhere on the list. The room tilted. The lights became too bright, searing into my skull. Nausea rolled through my stomach. 3 years of my life, every late night, every missed weekend, every sacrifice, including Sarah, walking out of my apartment for the last time, all of it for absolutely nothing. I looked up at Mr. Davidson, my vision blurring at the edges. "I never even never considered me." The question came out broken. "Porter, you are a solid employee," he said in that patronizing tone people use when they are about to deliver an insult disguised as encouragement. "But Mark has that extra something." Extra something. The words echoed in my head. That extra something was my work with his name on it. I turned to Mark, anger finally cutting through the shock. "Did you know about this?" My voice sounded unfamiliar to my own ears. Mark actually shrugged, leaning back in his chair like we were discussing weekend plans instead of the destruction of my career. "Well, yeah." Casual. Unconcerned. "Mr. Davidson told me about 6 weeks ago." 6 weeks. He had known for 6 weeks and said nothing while I continued killing myself for a company that had already decided I was not worth promoting. "Why did you not tell me?" My voice cracked on the last word. Mark smiled, then really smiled, and it was the ugliest expression I had ever seen on another human face. "Oops, I forgot to mention it. No remorse, no guilt, just smugness, pure and satisfied." In that moment, everything crystallized with horrible clarity. This was not an oversight. Mark had systematically stolen my ideas, taken credit for my projects, maneuvered himself into position, while pretending to be my friend. And he was sitting there enjoying watching me realize it. I stood up. My legs felt unsteady, but my mind had achieved this strange clarity that sometimes comes in moments of absolute crisis. Mr. Davidson started talking something about discussing my future at the company, but the words sounded like they were coming from underwater. My future? I actually laughed, a bitter sound that did not belong in a professional meeting. There is no future here. I walked toward the door, each step feeling both heavy and freeing at the same time. "Porter, wait," Linda called out in that concerned HR voice. But I did not wait. I kept walking. The corridor seemed longer than usual stretching out before me, but I made it to the end without looking back. When I reached my cubicle, I stood there for a moment just looking at 3 years of my life compressed into one small workspace. Team photos from events that now felt like elaborate lies lined one wall. 2 Employee of the Quarter awards hung on another, their gold plastic frames catching the overhead lights. A small plant I had been keeping alive for 3 years sat on the corner of my desk, its leaves healthy and green from careful watering. I opened my desk drawer and started removing personal items. My favorite notebook, the coffee mug someone gave me that said World's Best Analyst, which felt cruelly ironic now, a USB drive with backed up files. One of the junior analysts, Justin, appeared at the entrance to my cubicle. "Porterman, what happened?" His face showed genuine concern. "They gave everything I worked for to someone who did not earn it," I said simply. Justin shook his head. "That is messed up. You are the best we have." I appreciated the sentiment, but it changed nothing. The last box closed with a hollow thump. I looked around one more time, not with nostalgia, but with clear eyes, seeing everything for what it actually was. Then I left. That evening, in my tiny studio apartment, I sat on my second-hand couch surrounded by boxes, my entire professional life packed into cardboard. The silence felt enormous. No television, no music, just me and the wreckage of my expectations. Anger still burned hot in my chest, but underneath it something else was forming. Clarity. I had real skills, proven skills that had generated millions of dollars in revenue. I had contacts from client work people who had specifically requested to work with me. The retail client from year 2 suddenly popped into my head with crystal clarity. Their CEO, Jonathan Wright, had given me his personal business card after the presentation. "If you ever want to consult independently, call me," he had said with a warm handshake. I had kept that card, tucked it into my wallet, and mostly forgotten about it. Now I pulled it out, stared at the embossed lettering, Jonathan Wright, Chief Executive Officer, Retail Max. My phone felt heavy in my hand. One call could change everything, or lead to nothing. But doing nothing, staying bitter, letting this betrayal define me, that would be worse than any rejection. I made the decision then, I would build something better. Tuesday morning I dialed the number with shaking fingers. A professional voice answered Mr. Wright's office. "This is Porter." I began, my voice steadier than I felt. "He gave me his card last year after the analytics project." "Oh, Porter." The secretary's tone warmed immediately. "Mr. Wright mentioned you might call someday. Hold, please." 2 minutes of elevator music later, Jonathan's voice came through loud and friendly. "Porter, how is TechVantage treating you?" I decided to be honest. I left yesterday. Long story, but I am exploring independent consulting. The pause that followed made my heart race, but then Jonathan laughed. "Perfect timing. We have been looking for someone exactly like you." He explained that Retail Max was expanding into 3 new states and needed a consultant to overhaul their analytics systems. 6-month project initially, with the possibility of a full-time position or continued consulting depending on results. The rate he quoted made me blink, $150 per hour. I did the mental math quickly. Working full-time at that rate would be substantially more than my entire salary at TechVantage had been. "When can you start?" Jonathan asked. "How about Monday?" I replied. "You got it. I will have contracts sent over today." When I hung up, I stared at the wall of my small apartment for a long time, processing what had just happened. One door had slammed shut so hard it nearly broke me. But a better door had just opened wide. The first 3 months at Retail Max felt like finally breathing after being underwater. I threw myself into the work with the same intensity I had given TechVantage. But everything was different this time. The credit for my work went to me. My name appeared on reports and meetings and company-wide emails. I spent long nights researching and developing solutions, but these were my choice, driven by passion and ownership, rather than desperate attempts to prove my worth to people who had already decided I was not worth recognizing. The supply chain analytics project revealed inefficiencies that were costing Retail Max nearly $2 million annually. When I presented my findings and solutions to the board, they did not just thank me, they implemented everything immediately. "You are exactly what we needed," Jonathan told me after that meeting, his handshake firm, and his smile genuine. 3 months in, he offered me a permanent position, Director of Analytics. The salary was more than double what I had made at TechVantage, plus equity in the company. I accepted without hesitation. Within a week, I moved out of my cramped studio into a downtown apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the Austin skyline. Standing in that empty space on moving day, watching the sun set over the city, I felt something I had not felt in years: peace. Word spreads fast in any industry, but the tech world in Austin is particularly small. Within months, my success at Retail Max became common knowledge. My LinkedIn profile exploded with connection requests and messages from recruiters. Conference organizers invited me to speak on panels. 6 months after leaving TechVantage, I stood on stage at the Texas Analytics Summit, in front of 300 people speaking on ethical leadership in data science. I never mentioned TechVantage by name, but everyone in that audience knew what I was talking about when I discussed the importance of giving credit where it is due, of building success on actual merit rather than borrowed achievements. The standing ovation at the end felt like vindication, not from them but from myself. I had proven to the only person who really mattered me that my skills were real and valuable. Around this same time, news started filtering back through mutual contacts. TechVantage was struggling. They had lost several major clients. Mark's innovations, the ones he had put his name on, were failing. That reporting system idea he had stolen from me, riddled with bugs that were driving clients crazy. One former client actually reached out to me directly. "We heard you left TechVantage," they said. "Can you help us?" I stayed professional, agreed to a meeting, and ended up bringing them on as a consulting client. They were the first of several. Karma was doing its work, without me needing to lift a finger. 8 months after I walked out of that conference room, I attended an industry networking event at a downtown hotel. I was there as Director of Analytics for Retail Max, confident in a well-tailored suit, comfortable in my own skin, in a way I had never been at TechVantage. I was mid-conversation with a potential client when I saw him across the room, Mark. He was still at TechVantage apparently, but he looked different, tired. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes had this desperate quality as they darted around the room. When he spotted me, all color drained from his face. He actually tried to leave, but I was already walking over. "Hello, Mark." I kept my voice calm, neutral. "Porter, hey, I did not know you would be here." His voice came out weak. "Congratulations on the Retail Max thing." "Thank you," I replied. "How is TechVantage?" The question was genuine curiosity, not malice. "It is we are managing." He stumbled over the words. "Actually, it has been rough. Lost some clients." I nodded. I heard. The silence stretched between us, uncomfortable for him, simply neutral for me. "Look about what happened," he started. But I raised my hand. "It is in the past." Then I said something I had not planned but realized was completely true. "Actually, I should thank you." His confusion was obvious. "Thank me." "You did me a favor," I explained. "Staying there would have been settling. You taking that promotion, it pushed me to build something real. Something that is actually mine. So yeah, thanks." There was no bitterness in my voice, because I had let that go months ago. I meant every word. Mark stood there without any idea how to respond. "Good luck with everything," I said, then walked away. No dramatic exit, no grand speech, no revenge plot. I did not need any of that. My success spoke louder than any words ever could. Behind me, Mark remained frozen in place, speechless, exactly like the thumbnail had promised. The first few months after leaving TechVantage were not easy, emotionally, despite the professional success. Anger consumed me in ways I had not expected. I would lie awake at night, replaying that meeting in my head, thinking of all the things I should have said, all the ways I could have seen the betrayal coming. What if I had spoken up earlier? What if I had been less trusting? The questions circled endlessly. My therapist, Dr. Ellis, an older man with kind eyes and endless patience, helped me work through it during weekly sessions. "You cannot control other people's actions," he would remind me. "Only your response to them." Slowly, painfully, I learned that betrayal hurts. There is no way around that truth. But staying stuck in that hurt causes even more damage. The anger I felt was valid, but I had to transform it into something productive. Gradually, it became fuel for building something better rather than poison, destroying me from the inside. Working at Retail Max introduced me to what real colleagues actually look like. Angela, the project manager with her sharp mind and unwavering advocacy for the team. David, the senior developer, who spent hours teaching me coding concepts I had never encountered. Samantha from marketing, who became an unexpected mentor, teaching me about the business side of analytics. These people collaborated, genuinely shared credit, freely supported each other through difficulties. This is how a team should function, I realized, with a mixture of relief and sadness for the years I had wasted in a toxic environment. I started dating again, which felt terrifying after Sarah. At a bookstore one Saturday, I met Emily, an elementary school teacher, with a warm laugh and a passion for hiking. She was different from Sarah in fundamental ways. She understood work-life balance, supported my ambitions, but also reminded me that life existed outside of career achievements. Our relationship felt healthier from the start, built on honesty and mutual respect, rather than me constantly choosing work over everything else. With Emily, I learned it was possible to be ambitious and successful, while also being present and emotionally available. I rediscovered parts of myself that had disappeared during those 3 years at TechVantage. I started running again, building up to 5 miles every morning, the rhythm of my feet on pavement becoming a kind of meditation. I joined a recreational basketball league and remembered how much I loved the simple joy of playing a game with no stakes beyond fun. I read fiction again, instead of only technical manuals, losing myself in stories that had nothing to do with data or analytics. I began volunteering at the community college, teaching basic data literacy to people trying to change careers. These activities reminded me that self-worth is not tied to job titles or salary figures. It comes from integrity, from how you treat people, from building things that matter for reasons beyond personal advancement. The betrayal at TechVantage taught me painful but valuable lessons. It showed me what I never want to become: the kind of person who takes credit for others' work, who treats friendship as a tool for personal gain. It taught me resilience. I did not know I possessed the ability to get knocked down hard and still stand back up. Most importantly, it taught me to trust my own strength and capabilities. Nobody could take those away, not Mark, not Mr. Davidson, not anyone. I learned that loyalty should always be mutual. I had been intensely loyal to TechVantage, sacrificing relationships and personal well-being for the company's success. They were not loyal in return. Mark certainly was not. Real loyalty is earned through consistent actions over time. It cannot be demanded or assumed. At Retail Max, I remain loyal to my team and the company. But I am also loyal to myself now. If that loyalty stops being reciprocated, I know it is okay to walk away. That is not quitting or giving up. It is choosing self-respect. Success stolen from others is never real success. Mark got the promotion, the raise, the recognition, but he could not maintain it because none of it was built on actual skill or genuine achievement. It was a house built on sand, destined to collapse. My success, on the other hand, is built on my real work, my actual expertise, my authentic contributions. Nobody can take that away, because it truly belongs to me. Real success is sustainable precisely because it is authentic. I sleep well now, with no guilt and no shame. Just peace that comes from knowing I earned everything I have. The biggest lesson was about moving forward, rather than staying trapped in bitterness. Staying angry at Mark and Mr. Davidson would have destroyed me far more thoroughly than their betrayal ever could. I made the conscious choice to let go. Not to forgive, because Mark never apologized, and forgiveness requires acknowledgement of wrongdoing. But I released the anger because carrying it was like drinking poison and expecting someone else to get sick. Letting go does not mean forgetting what happened or pretending it did not hurt. It means refusing to let the past control my future. Every betrayal presents a choice: become bitter or become better. I chose better, and that choice made all the difference. Now, a year and a half after that terrible meeting, I sit in my corner office at Retail Max, with windows overlooking the Austin skyline. I lead a team of 10 talented people who respect my leadership because it is earned, not stolen. I am recognized in my industry, not because I took credit for others' work, but because I built my reputation one honest project at a time. Sometimes I still think about that meeting, about the moment Mr. Davidson laughed at the idea of giving me a raise. But the feeling that accompanies the memory has transformed completely. Instead of pain, I feel gratitude. Strange as it sounds, I am grateful for the betrayal that freed me from a place where I would have always been undervalued. It freed me from accepting less than I deserved, from staying comfortable in a situation that was slowly diminishing me, from believing that loyalty means enduring disrespect. I do not know what happened to Mr. Davidson. Honestly, I do not care enough to find out. Mark is apparently still at TechVantage, still struggling. I do not gloat about that because it does not bring me any satisfaction. I simply focus on my own path, on building something meaningful, on treating people with the respect and honesty they deserve. The lesson I carry forward is simple but profound. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead directly to the best things in our lives. Not because of karma, or fate, or cosmic justice, but because of how we choose to respond. I responded by building, by growing, by refusing to let betrayal make me smaller. That choice continues to make a difference every single day. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted at work? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. I would love to hear how you got through it. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that they can overcome workplace betrayal. Subscribe to this channel for more real stories about navigating difficult situations and coming out stronger on the other side. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that your worth is not determined by people who fail to see it. Keep pushing forward, stay true to yourself, and remember that better opportunities are waiting when you have the courage to walk away from places that do not value you. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.